We have the AFC West. We're going to start out with the Denver Broncos with a B+. Honestly, I just think pick for pick, they had such a good draft class. Like, here's the thing. Was Bo Nix taken probably earlier than he should have been? Yes. Were the Broncos given a choice? No. So I think I can't knock them for taking Nix at 12. It was that or ride into the year with Stidham.
No, it literally riding into the year with Zach Wilson QB1 type beat. Like, you couldn't do it this year.
Jonah Ellis in the third, and then being able to get Troy Franklin in the fourth to pair with his previous quarterback. I love when teams add the chemistry of college player, college wide receiver. I think it makes the transition to the NFL so easy, and I really do like the core of Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, depending how you feel about him. I'm not too
if he stays healthy, man,
right.
I love Timmy P.
Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims, like, I think that is a decent core to walk into.
No, absolutely. And like we said, him and Sean Payton are going to mesh so well. Like, Broncos fans, I don't care what you think about this pick right now. Trust me. Midway through this year, when Bo Nix is cooking in that offense, again, I'm not going to predict anything like, oh, he's going to be some, I'm going to say this. He's going to produce more than you expected if you're not high on him. Because I'm not like the highest guy in Bo Nix, but he literally did fall into the perfect situation. And actually, for how good the situation is, I actually can't even measure how high or low I feel. The ceiling could be up here. It also could be down here. It could be a terrible, and it could be a mess. But if he ends up fixing in this Sean Payton offense how I believe he can, you really did get your long-term starter. And there's just no other way I can say it.
Well, even Chris Abrams-Drain and Audric Estime, like, both solid players for them.
Dude, Audric is such a Sean Payton back. He's such a Sean Payton back.
How do you think he'll, like, get kind of a not starting role right away, but do you think he's kind of leaning towards that?
He said, he came in and he was like, he's not him. I'm not making the comparison at all, but I'm saying, like, he said, I need my Kamara guy. Like, I need my guy who can run power, who can run zone, who can get out in the backfield and catch the ball. That's exactly what you spent your 5th round pick on. I think you got to feel damn good about that if you're a Broncos fan.
Broncos B+. Moving into the Kansas City Chiefs, we have an A-. Xavier Worthy in the first. Like we said on draft night, why do the Bills keep doing this? They stay, they're in the second round. They get Kingsley Suamataia, and then you get Jaden Hicks. Jaden Hicks going to the Chiefs made me so happy because Jaden Hicks is probably my favorite safety personally in the draft. I think Tyler Newman's a little bit more polished, but I think with the physicality and athleticism of Hicks, he's been my favorite safety in the draft, and putting him on the Chiefs, awesome. And even Hunter Noorzad, to add some depth to the interior of the offensive line. Everything they did, even adding a tight end, Jared Wiley.
No, I mean, absolutely, like you said, absolutely everything in this class was a hit. I mean, they hit on every need they had. They took shots later on O linemen that have good high upsides. Kamal Hayden filling out a DB need. Jaden Hicks filling out a safety need. Kingsley was the guy, apparently, that they were going to be targeting at pick 32 anyway.
Interesting.
You got him all the way at pick 63. And then, I mean, come on. Xavier Worthy to Mahomes was the dream. Like, I'm not even kidding when I say this. When Xavier Worthy crossed that finish line and he broke that record and he looked up and he saw that, I really do truly believe the first thought in his head is, man, I just really made it so much closer to a possibility I could be playing with Patrick Mahomes. And I mean, all of a sudden, Xavier Worthy and Patrick Mahomes, it's terrifying. There's just no other way to say it.
I mean, their wide receivers are so speedy. Rice, Hollywood Brown, Worthy. And imagine that with like a Travis Kelce. Like, I'm so excited to see what the Chiefs offense is going to look like next year. Obviously, they shut down a lot of the explosive plays when teams play too high against them. But I think, getting Worthy on some reverses or just whatever Reed schemes up, I'm excited to see how they use him. I think he has potential to be a very, very good player his rookie year, strictly based off his speed. And he's really good at separating, obviously, on in the long term because he's just going to outrun everybody. I am worried about separating, kind of at the line of scrimmage right away because he is so small.
No, I agree with you on that too. I'll say, how about a hot take for you though? If he ends up coming in and he can break those issues he has with press and all that, and he has surefire hands from year one, we truly could see and not that he had a bad year last year, but we could see a Travis Kelce like revitalization where maybe even Travis Kelce's best season we've ever seen as a Chief, because there's going to be so much pressure, like we're saying, to just cover deep every snap that if you're Travis Kelce underneath, you're going to be open all the time. And if Travis Kelce's getting doubled, well, then everything deep's just going to be there for the taking. Like defending the Chiefs next year is going to be such a headache for every defensive coordinator. I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, 3-peat inbound. That's all I have to say. Las Vegas Raiders, such an interesting draft class, taking Brock Bowers at 13. How did you feel about their class?
I think I felt like they did a lot of BPA type activity. And if you're a Raiders fan, you should just feel happy about that. Because again, like the Raiders are in that same kind of position, like how the Broncos are, where there's just a lot of needs to fill. You're not going to be immediately competitive no matter what you did with this year's first round pick. Really, I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. So you kind of just had to do what you felt was the best route to start building in the right direction. And getting one of the best players in the entire class at pick 13. Got to feel damn good about that, bro. And then also, Jackson Powers-Johnson at pick 44? I mean, the first 2 rounds alone, this is kind of like how the Bears draft was, where it's like the first 2 rounds alone, not the first 2 rounds, but for the first 2 picks alone. I mean, absolutely smashed it. Like you set the tone for the rest of the class. And then DJ Glaze, the guard versatility, probably going to play him at tackle right off the bat, right tackle, but you got versatility across the board. Tommy Eichenberg, I like too. In the 5th round, I think you're getting great value right there. Dylan Laub.
I was about to say, I like Dylan Laub.
I really like Dylan Laub, especially pick 208. This rock solid class from the Raiders, rock solid. And just like we were saying, it's not going to immediately benefit you to become a 10-11 win team next year or anything. I really don't believe, but it was definitely the start of the step in the right direction when you couldn't have gotten the quarterback.
I think I like the Jackson Powers-Johnson pick so much because it's like you add such a high floor guy for the interior of your line. And something about the Brock Bowers pick that I heard on the Ringer Draft Show podcast with like Solak, Danny Heifetz, and everything like that is they were talking about Brock Bowers. And, you could look at the Raiders right now and be like, oh, well, they could have probably taken someone else. Like, I don't know if Bowers is really the best pick for them, right? But he's also one of those picks where it's like, okay, you say the Raiders don't take Bowers, right? And they take a player next year and he's good, but Bowers is a special type of player. He's the type of guy where you'd pass on him and be like, think back a year later, be like, why the fuck did I do that? Like, really, why did I make that? Why did I pass over him? Because I already took Mayer, because we don't need a tight end right now. Like, he's that type of player where it's like, you just don't pass regardless of your situation.
No, especially when the quarterback was off the board, especially when the QB's off the board.
100%. But it kind of is frustrating for the Raiders because it feels like the last 2 years, they've just not been able to get that quarterback. And they seem to be the team that has been left in the dust the last 2 years.
You know what? Maybe it's just meant to be. Maybe Aiden O'Connell is just going to have one of the greatest second-year jumps of all time, and we're going to be shocked. I don't know what else. I'm just giving Raiders fans something to be hopeful for.
AP is probably throwing up right now.
AP is a little bit upset.
Last but not least, we have the Los Angeles Chargers with a B++. I didn't know it's kind of their only team with a B++. I didn't really know how to grade them based on what we had as our grades. I really do like the first 3 picks, and I think they're so good that they kind of carry the rest of the class because I'm not too big on Cam Hart, and I think the addition of Brendan Rice was really nice. And obviously Cornelius Johnson, another Michigan player. But I think I like what they did at the end of the class, just kind of taking swings on receivers because we know their wide receiver room needs it. And how did you feel about the Ladd McConkey pick? I think they could have went a different direction, but I don't hate it.
No, I think I'm a little surprised with the way the Chargers are, but how about this? In the way, I'm going to look at it in the positive way to spin it, where it's like the Chargers just desperately needed a sure-handed guy like someone who you can throw to and be very confident he's going to bring that thing down. That's exactly what they got. And if you're Justin Herbert, who's going to be putting that thing on the money almost all the time, tons, and Ladd is comfortable catching those balls with a lot of zip on them. Herbert's never going to be giving you anything easy. Ladd, sure-handed guy. I think from that perspective, I do understand what the direction they were going.
Okay. Yeah. I think I'm most concerned about the idea of moving Joe Alt to right tackle.
No, that is like we were saying on the night of. I know I really did want to see Joe go somewhere where he was going to be the blind side. All of a sudden, he has to make a complete transition in his game. But again, though, like a few buddies have reminded me recently. I got to shouts to them because I almost forgot. Joe Alt really initially was a tight end. Who moved over to left tackle. Like he's already someone who's moved over and has had to switch already. So it's like when you look at it like that, it makes a lot more sense. Like, what? I can understand being very optimistic that he'll be able to make the transition. Like I always go back to though, the Colts better not, or not the Colts, the Chargers had better not McGlinchey this man because this man has so much talent. I want to see him at his ceiling.
So this is something I will say though, that I found pretty interesting is, was it always Alt? Like we speculated, will they take Latham? Will they trade back? They're not going to take Alt because he's a left tackle. Like I wonder if the whole time the Chargers are just sitting there like, this is our guy. Like I feel like there was so much speculation. And I feel like at the end of the day, it was always just Joe Alt for them.
No, I'm with you 100%. I think for whatever reason, they got everybody. They just played us for fun. They didn't even have to. Like,
but see, they didn't even play us because Jim Harbaugh was like, yeah, O-linemen run the team. Like,
no. The fact that JC Latham was shooting up and stuff.
Yeah,
that's why I was like, I don't know who was leaking information or who was cheesing, but somebody was just joking, just a joke. Like,
I think it was the media.